Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Call Halal Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'Hashem, Rakak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that taught me this truth, and much respect to the Akim out there laboring in his work. Peace and salutation to the hopefully elect that are scattered abroad across the four corners of the earth. To you I say, Shalom. So what sparked this lesson right here was actually a scene from the movie 824, Civil War, which shows you that in a time of chaos, in a time of war, the price of resources are going to skyrocket. All right, so we understand and know that according to the scriptures, there will be a period of, hyperinflation, so much to where you're not going to be able to buy your everyday necessities, so easily. Okay. And I just want to bring this out real quick. I'm going to play the video. And of course, we're going to go into the scriptures and show you how bad it's going to be in that time. All right. To obtain certain resources.
Help you folks? Just looking for gas.
Gotta look the fuel permit?
No, we're actually just passing through.
Can't help, sorry.
Sir, if we pay,
I was never gonna give it free.
over the odds.
What's over the odds?
300 for half a tank and 2 cans.
300 buys you a sandwich. We got ham or cheese?
300 Canadian.
Okay.
Yeah, so you had the press, as you can see, who was traveling from New York down to Washington, D.C., and they started to get some gas. And, she wanted, half a tank and a couple of reserves. And she said $300. The dude laughed at her what the hell is that? They can get you a sandwich, a ham sandwich or a cheese sandwich, take your pick. So that shows you that in those times, that hyperinflation is going to really take effect. The supply and demand ratio is going to be unbalanced, in which the supply is going to be low, but the demand is going to be very high, increasing the price of certain items. All right. And of course, the Canadian dollar is a little more valuable, than the US dollar. So this guy kind of reconsidered. But that just shows you that in a time of chaos, man, all right, you're going to have things cost so much that you're not going to be able to buy them. And the scripture goes into that, man. Let's go to Revelation 6 real quick. In verse 5, where it says the third seal famine. And when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, come and see. And I beheld, and lo, a black horse. This black horse represents dark times, all right, slavery and judgment. And he that sat upon him had a pair of balances in his hands, all right, which again, represents slavery and judgment. So let's get this definition for balances. In the Strong's G2218.
Strong's G2218, Zugos. Zugos.
And so here you have the definition for it, which is, a yoke that is put on drought cattle, metaphorically used of any burden or bondage, as that of slavery. You see, as that of slavery, because in those times, it's going to be so bad that people are going to have to resort to doing things that they would not normally do in order to survive due to the hyperinflation. All right. And we're going to go into the prices of how much it's going to pretty much cost in order for you to eat in those times. All right. So strong definition says a yoke, a coupling, i.e. figuratively, servitude. You see, servitude, a law or obligation. Okay. So this word servitude in slavery, pretty much consists of, in those times when things become dire, people going to be willing to serve and bow themselves to Esau just to obtain, a piece of bread. When you go to Revelation 13 and 16 real quick, where it says, and they cause all both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. All right, we know that word mark right there is a charagma. And I want to get a definition of it real quick. All right, Strong G 5480. And what it says, a stamp and a printed mark. All right, and when you go to the Strong's definition, it says a scratch or etching, i.e. stamp as a badge of servitude. You see, as a badge of servitude. So in those times of chaos, that's when the chip, is pretty much going to be implemented, in which people are going to willingly, bow themselves under the yoke of Esau and take his charagma. So as you go back to Revelation 6, and at verse 6, it says, and I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. All right. And so a measure of wheat, let's get this word measure real quick. Strong G 5518.
Strong's G 5518. Choinix.
So choinix, it says what? A dry measure containing 4 kodale or 2 satari, less than our quart, 1 liter, or as much as would support a man of moderate appetite for a day. All right. So a measure of wheat, okay, is going to be enough to feed a man of moderate appetite for 1 day. Okay, a measure of wheat for what? A penny. So how much is that food going to cost? So back in the ancient Roman Empire, you had the denarian or the denarius, okay, which was the currency back then, and we're going to find out how much it was worth. So right here, denarius, it says containing 10, a Roman silver coin in the New Testament time. It took its name from it being equal to 10 asses, a number after 217 BC increased to 16. All right. It says it was the principal silver coin of the Roman Empire. From the parable of the laborers in the vineyard, it was seen that a denarius was then the ordinary pay for a day's wages. See, for a day's wages. So whatever you make within a day, that's going to be enough to buy you a measure of wheat or food that's able to sustain, 1 man of a moderate appetite. That's how much inflation is going to increase in those times. Okay. Saying that the supply and the demand is imbalanced. There's going to be a great demand for certain resources, and the supply is going to be very low. You see? And so I got an article pulled up which goes into the time of World War I and how this similar thing, took place. So this article right here, and I just, Lord willing, put this in the description box, like Apostle Ramla said. But it says war and conflict often lead to high inflation or hyperinflation. See? Increased inflation figures and rising prices. But not for the first time in modern history, there are plenty of examples of high inflation, and often the common denominator is war and conflict. War has often played a role in inflation. There's a boom in certain types of production. Demand increases and prices are driven up. See? So let's find out, what things will increase. Of course, food is going to be in that equation, right? Let's scroll down. It says high inflation during the world wars. So in 1914, World War I broke out, and soon Sweden found itself in the highest inflation it had ever experienced. We left the gold standard along with most other countries, as it was not possible to maintain the fixed price for gold with increased defense spending. So suddenly, there was more money in relation to production, and costs skyrocketed. The price of imported food rose sharply, see, along with other imported goods. My production in the country was limited. Yeah. So as the jobs become, scarce in America, as the scriptures say, The grinders shall cease, and there shall also be no work for Egypt. Production is going to go all the way down. So the demand for these certain things being imported is going to go up. See? So in periods, inflation could be over 30% with very high peaks. And it says attempts were made with price controls and rationing of food and other necessities. Yeah, rationing of food. These are the things that are going to be instituted in order to combat so-called high inflation, okay? Or high inflation. So it says, but the rest was often still empty shelves in stores. Those who had contacts and money acquired goods on the black market, all right? So that's the point. That's what happened during the time of World War I. So how much more in the time of World War III, you know? But that's going to be the perfect time for Esau to come with that charagma. There's going to be rationing lines. You know, the store is going to be found empty, and people are going to seek to Esau for help. Let's go to 2nd Esdras real quick. Chapter 6 and verse 22, where it says, and suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown, and the full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty. Okay? The store is going to be ransacked. There's not going to be product coming in into these stores because of production, you know, the economy going to shit. All right. So famine is going to take place, you know, anarchy, violence. All right. The Civil War. So in those times, matter of fact, let's go to the GNT version of 2nd Esdras, the 15th chapter. You know, dealing with the Civil War, and the famine is going to happen after that. All right, 2nd Esdras 15 and 14. Woe, the world and the people in it are doomed. The war that will bring their destruction is very near. Okay, and ultimately America will be destroyed by fire. Nations will arm themselves and fight against other nations. There will be great political turmoil, you see, Civil War, with one group trying to overpower another and gain control. See, the Democrat and Republican, the right wing and the left wing, while ignoring the legitimate government. They're not going to care about what Joe Biden got to say, or the governors, the mayors. It says there will no longer be free access to the cities because they're going to be locked down, because the struggle for power will bring destruction, terror, and total confusion wherever people live. So 19 says what? Driven by famine and terrible suffering. See, the dollar's going to shit. There's not going to be any people to pretty much make these goods. Supply is going to be low. People will assault their neighbors and mercilessly plunder their possessions. See that? So as we go to chapter 16, and this is what's coming to America, man. This is biblical prophecy. So 2nd Esdras 16, and we'll start at verse 21. It says, the time is coming when food would be so cheap that people would think a time of peace and plenty has arrived. And that's basically right now, because food is still kind of cheap, man, you know. But the time is coming which a loaf of bread, you know, or whatever kind of food you need, that measure is going to be a day's wages. It says, again, the time is coming when food would be so cheap that people would think a time of peace and plenty has arrived. But then disasters will spring up everywhere, wars, famine, and great confusion. So many people on earth will starve to death, and those who escape starvation will be killed in the war. Their corpses will be thrown out like garbage, and there will be no one left to comfort the living. All right, the earth will be deserted and cities demolished. So this is a time of great suffering right here, a time of great trouble. And basically people are going to be reduced to, you know, not having any hope, not having any, you know, kind of comfort or refuge. The perplexity is going to be an all-time high. And they're going to willingly go down and take this man's charagma to serve him, okay? That badge of servitude. So that's pretty much it on that. But yeah, this is what sparked that thought, all right, from Civil War.
Help you.
Okay, so yeah, with that, Lord willing, you're edified. Till next time I say shalom.